Just west of LSU's Free Speech Alley, Governor Jeff Landry stands on a podium. It's a rare sight for him to be on campus, but in an event hosted by Turning Point USA LSU, where else was he going to be? Turning Point LSU Vice President Ethan Vogan organized the whole thing and could even be seen on stage.
The governor's office approached me and said, would you like to introduce the governor? I said, it would be a privilege to introduce the governor. So if you see any media from that press conference, you'll see me standing right behind the governor.
But Landry wasn't there to shake hands. He was there to introduce and sign an executive order that he says protects free speech for students.
I didn't say the freedom of speech on one side or the other. The freedom of speech in general, where students should be able to freely engage in discussions and talk about ideas and the things that they believe in.
Landry's executive order requires the Louisiana Board of Regents to submit a yearly report to the governor's office and legislature about any violations of free speech on campus. Landry says this is to ensure balance among student voices, as
one voice seems to be quieted while another seems to yell.
Though he never specified which groups were at what volume, the implications were clear.
I think there is a belief, a perception that the rights of conservatives are not as respected on college campuses.
That's LSU political science professor Dr. Robert Hogan. He says this executive order was more symbolic than anything, that Landry wanted to make a point that any perceived long-standing liberal bias in higher education would no longer fly. But Hogan says as far as he's aware, there is no liberal bias at LSU and no need for the executive order. In short,
this seems to be a solution looking for a problem that Mr. Landry is pushing here.
Kate Suthon, Director of Political Awareness for LSU's Feminists in Action, was in the crowd at the press conference, as since Turning Point organized the event, there were no left-leaning student groups invited. She also figured out pretty quickly which groups Landry was talking about.
It did seem like it was freedom of speech very much favoring one side over the other. Like he spoke about voices being silenced, but he spoke a lot about, maybe more like right-leaning or conservative voices being silenced.
Suthon says she hasn't heard of any liberal bias on campus either. She posits that one side isn't being uplifted more than the other, it's more like both sides are being suppressed.
I think all kinds of people are getting silenced in terms of freedom of speech. So I don't think it really is like a either-or problem. I think it's like everyone should just have it.
Vogan disagrees. He says he and his conservative friends have been called names, left out of class discussions, and even shut down by professors because of their political beliefs. He helped organize the press conference because he believes LSU has a problem that started at the bottom and is quickly working its way up.
College faculties and my peers are the gatekeepers of free speech. They have fostered through their education and their learning that it is not okay to disagree. Civil disagreement has been erased.
Landry's executive order is already in effect, though no free speech violations have been publicly reported yet. For 91.1 KLSU, I'm Mel Bridges.